They say helping someone can heal your own wounds. But what if, while trying to help, you open a door you can't close? What if kindness turns into craving? What if the one person who needed you the most became the one person you couldn't say no to? I didn't plan it. I didn't wake up one morning thinking, I'm going to destroy everything I've spent years building. But sometimes, it's not destruction that tempts you. It's attention. It's warmth. It's someone looking at you like you matter again. And that can be more dangerous than desire. Because I wasn't starving for touch. I was starving to be seen, to be heard, to be held not with hands, but with presence. And he gave me that. God, help me, he gave me that. It started small, so small, I almost missed the moment things changed. A smile that lingered longer than it should have. A hand that brushed mine and didn't pull away. And are you okay? That felt like it came from someone who meant it. I told myself, he's just being kind. But the truth? I was already halfway gone, the moment I felt that flicker of being noticed. I know how this sounds. I know some of you are already judging me, but if you've ever laid next to someone night after night, and felt more alone than if the bed was empty, then maybe, just maybe, you'll understand how loneliness can twist what you know is wrong into something that feels right. You see, it wasn't about sex. It wasn't about love either. It was about relief. The kind of relief you feel when you finally exhale after holding your breath for years. And now? Now I can't stop seeing his face. I can't stop hearing his voice. I can't stop remembering the way he looked at me like I was something worth holding on to, even if just for a moment. Even if it shattered everything after. It wasn't supposed to feel like that. But it did. And I know there's no excuse. But if you've ever made a mistake that felt like salvation in the moment, then maybe you'll understand. Maybe you'll stay and hear the whole story. Because the truth? This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's a story about pain, about silence, about the invisible ways we break, long before we ever cross the line. And if you're still listening, if your heart just clenched a little, then maybe this story is meant for you too. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. Not just for stories, but for the quiet truths we whisper when no one else is listening. Because once you hear this, you'll never look at help the same way again. My husband barely noticed me anymore. We didn't fight. We didn't scream. We just existed. Same kitchen, same bed, different worlds. He worked late, traveled often. Sometimes I'd hear his car pull into the driveway and feel nothing. Not relief. Not joy. Just silence. The kind of silence that builds up over years. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Until one day, you realize the person sleeping beside you doesn't even look at you anymore. And you stop trying to be seen. The kids were grown. The house quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful anymore. Just hollow. Most days, I filled the space with chores. Laundry, cooking, cleaning counters that were already clean. Pretending I didn't notice how cold the bed felt by 11 p.m. Or how long it had been since anyone held my face and said my name like it meant something. Then, he came back. Kevin. My husband's son from his first marriage. He was 24 now. Back home for a few months to figure things out. I remembered him as the boy who once asked if he could call me Mom, then changed his mind the next day and never brought it up again. I didn't blame him. I wasn't his mother. I was just there, always there. But now he was different. Taller, broader, voice deeper, shoulders stronger. And his smile, that hadn't changed. Still crooked, still warm, still disarming. The first night he arrived, he hugged me like he meant it. Not a quick, polite hug, but one that lingered, arms around me just a second too long. I told myself I imagined it, that he was just being sweet. But when he pulled away, his eyes stayed on mine. And I felt something shift. He made the house feel less empty. He asked me how I was doing. Not in passing. He really asked. And I didn't know how to answer. Because no one had asked me that in a long time. Dinner became our ritual. He'd sit on the counter while I cooked, telling me about job interviews, old friends, things he regretted. I listened. And for once, someone listened back. He noticed things. Like how I hummed when I stirred the sauce. How I always looked tired by 4 p.m. How I paused before answering questions like I wasn't sure my words mattered. He noticed me. And my husband? He'd walk in, nod, grab a plate, scroll through his phone at the table. Sometimes he didn't even say goodnight anymore. Kevin did. Every night. "Good night, Laura," he'd say. Soft, direct, like it mattered. And I'd whisper it back, feeling something strange in my chest, something I hadn't felt in years. I told myself it was nothing. Just attention. Just gratitude. Just a boy being kind. But deep down, I already knew it was more. It started with a simple thing. He needed help writing a job application. Said he wasn't good with words. Said I had that way of making things sound better. We sat at the dining table. It was late. The kind of late where the house feels like it's holding its breath. Quiet, still, honest. The kitchen light was the only one on. Everything else was dark. Just him, me, the glow of the laptop screen between us. I leaned over to help him with a sentence. He leaned in too. And then, our hands brushed. Not by accident. Not on purpose. Just something in between. We both paused. Just for a second. But in that second, something passed between us. A heat. A recognition. I looked up at him. And he was already looking at me. Not like a stepson. Not like a kid asking for advice. But like a man seeing something he didn't expect. And I didn't look away. We laughed. It broke the moment, sort of. Made it feel innocent again. Almost. But then he said it. Low. Barely above a whisper. "You deserve to be seen." Just like that. No explanation. No apology. Like he knew. Like he'd been watching me fade in real time. Like he could feel the parts of me that had gone numb. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just looked at the screen. Typed a few words. Pretended my heart wasn't racing. After that, something shifted. He started coming into the kitchen more often. Asking questions that didn't need answers. Staying longer after dinner. His compliments grew softer, but heavier. Not about clothes. Not about looks. But about me. My mind. My voice. My stories. He remembered things I didn't think anyone noticed. Like how I used to write poetry. How I danced in the rain once when no one was watching. How I always smelled like rosemary and cinnamon. And I started waiting for his footsteps. Started listening for the sound of the fridge opening at night. Started hoping he'd walk into the room when I was there. I told myself I was being ridiculous. That it was nothing. That I was just bored. Lonely. Tired. But deep down, I knew I had already crossed a line. Not with my body, but with my heart. And sometimes, that's the scar that cuts the deepest. I told myself it was just kindness. That he was just being sweet. That I was reading too much into everything. But the moment kept playing in my mind, over and over, like a song you hate yourself for loving. The brush of our hands. The way he looked at me. The words, "You deserve to be seen." They echoed through my chest long after he'd gone to bed. I tried to shake it off. Tried to pour myself into laundry, dishes, errands. Anything that made me feel useful instead of wanted. But something had been stirred. And once that feeling wakes up, you can't put it back to sleep. At night, I'd lie beside my husband, watching the soft rise and fall of his chest, wondering when the last time was that he reached for me. Not out of duty. Not out of routine. But out of desire. I couldn't remember. I started comparing everything. The way Kevin listened when I spoke, really listened. The way he remembered small details, asked follow-up questions. The way he'd laugh at my jokes, even the dry ones I'd given up telling years ago. And then there was my husband. Half answers, distracted glances, phone in hand, mind somewhere else, always somewhere else. The loneliness grew sharper. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was a craving, a hunger I didn't know I had until someone fed it. I started choosing outfits more carefully, putting on a little mascara, tucking my hair just right behind my ear. Not for my husband. Not even for Kevin, really. But for the part of me that still wanted to be seen as a woman. Not a wife. Not a caretaker. Just a woman. And every time I caught Kevin watching me from across the room, a part of me lit up. Quietly. Carefully. Dangerously. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't flirting. I wasn't leading him on. I wasn't touching him. I was just feeling something again. And what's so wrong about feeling? What's so wrong about wanting to feel alive? I didn't want to betray anyone. I didn't want to cross a line. But when you go long enough without being held, even attention can start to feel like intimacy. And that's what scared me most. Because I wasn't chasing anything. I was just responding. Responding to warmth. To presence. To someone finally seeing the parts of me I had buried years ago. I kept telling myself, this is harmless. You're just lonely. It'll pass. But every night, when the house went quiet and the bed felt cold and the air was thick with everything left unsaid, I'd close my eyes and wonder what it would feel like to be wanted again. Truly, deeply, like I was worth undoing something for. And somewhere in that wondering, I stopped being sure of who I was anymore. We started talking more. Not about anything serious at first. Just small things. Movies. Music. The news. What he wanted to do next with his life. Nothing inappropriate. But everything felt charged, like there was a current running beneath every word we said. Sometimes I'd catch myself watching him, the way he leaned against the counter, how he ran his fingers through his hair when he was thinking, the way his voice dropped when he was tired. And I knew I shouldn't notice those things. But I did. He started opening up more. Late-night conversations, just the two of us. Everyone else asleep. Only the hum of the fridge and the low sound of his voice filling the room. He told me things he hadn't told anyone. About how lost he felt. How he'd always tried to impress his father, but nothing ever seemed to be enough. About a girl who broke his heart last year. How he'd started feeling like maybe he just wasn't the kind of guy people stayed for. And I listened. Really listened. Because I knew what that felt like. To pour yourself into someone and still feel invisible. To give and be met with silence. He looked at me differently after that night. With softness. With understanding. With something that almost looked like gratitude. Or longing. I told myself it was just connection. That we were just two lonely souls finding comfort in conversation. But I knew better. The first time he hugged me, it was innocent. We were standing in the hallway. He had just said, "Thank you for listening." Then he leaned in, his arms around my shoulders. Gentle. Brief. But even in those few seconds, my heart thudded so loud I was afraid he'd hear it. The second time, it was different. He had a rough day. Didn't get the job he applied for. Came home frustrated, defeated. I sat with him in the living room. No TV. No distractions. Just the two of us and a silence thick with all the things we weren't saying. He turned to me and said, "Why is it that you're the only one who makes me feel okay?" I didn't answer. I just reached for him. And when our arms wrapped around each other, it lasted too long. Long enough for me to feel his breath on my neck. Long enough for his hand to slide gently up my back. Long enough for my lips to part, not to speak, but because I forgot how to breathe. That second time, I didn't pull away. I didn't want to. Not because I wanted something to happen, but because, for the first time in so long, I felt wanted. And when you've been empty for years, even a drop of warmth can feel like a flood. It was raining that night. Hard. The kind of rain that makes the whole house feel like it's breathing. The power flickered once. then again. And then the lights went out completely. Just thunder, and the sound of my own thoughts. My husband was out of town, some conference in Atlanta. He didn't call, didn't text to check in. And somehow, that felt normal now. Expected. I lit a candle in the kitchen, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, stared at the storm through the window like I was waiting for something. And then I heard the soft knock. Kevin. He stood there in the hallway, shirt clinging to his chest, wet from running in the rain just to get back from the store. He had gone out for batteries. Didn't even say he was leaving. Just thought of what I might need. He handed me the pack like it was nothing. But when our fingers touched, it felt like everything. We didn't talk for a moment. We just stood there in the candlelight, his breathing heavy, mine uneven. And then he said it. Not loud, not rushed, just clear, like he'd been waiting to say it for weeks. I don't care that you're married. I care that you're sad. The words hit me in a place I didn't know I was still guarding. Because I was sad. I'd been sad for so long, I didn't even call it sadness anymore. It had just become part of me, like a quiet room I lived in. And now he saw it. He named it. I told him to go. I didn't raise my voice, didn't cry. I just said, you should go to bed. And he nodded, didn't argue, didn't ask why. He just turned and walked down the hall. I stood there, frozen, the candle flickering, the rain hitting the windows harder now. And I felt it, this ache in my chest, like something had been pulled out of me and wasn't coming back. I walked to the front door. I locked it, turned off the candle, sat on the couch, tried to breathe, tried to tell myself I was strong, that I had made the right choice. But I couldn't stop shaking. 2 minutes passed. Maybe less. Maybe more. I don't know. All I remember is standing in front of his room. My hand hovered above the doorknob, my heart a drum in my throat. I knocked. Once. He opened it like he'd been standing there, waiting. Like he knew I'd come. And I didn't speak. I didn't explain. I just walked in. The air between us was so thick I could barely breathe. He stepped closer. I didn't move back. He cupped my face. His thumb traced the line just beneath my cheekbone. And when he kissed me, my knees nearly gave out. Because it wasn't lust. It wasn't reckless. It was slow, soft, sad. Like we both knew it was wrong. But we were too tired to keep pretending it didn't feel like the only thing that was right. I told him to stop. He did. But I didn't leave. I stood there, waiting, wanting, and everything I swore I'd never do happened. I let him touch me. I let myself want it. And in that moment, I wasn't a wife. I wasn't a stepmother. I wasn't someone holding everything together. I was just a woman who had gone too long without being chosen. And that night I was chosen. Not out of duty, not out of routine, but out of want. And I don't know if that makes it better or worse. The next morning, the house felt colder. Not from the weather, but from the silence between us. He didn't come down for breakfast. I didn't knock on his door. We both pretended to be asleep. Even though I knew neither of us had closed our eyes. I kept replaying everything. The way his breath had felt on my skin. The way his voice had cracked when he whispered my name. The way I had let it happen. Wanted it to happen. And now, I couldn't take it back. Even if I wanted to. He wouldn't look at me. Not directly. He'd walk past me in the hallway, eyes down, shoulders stiff. But me? I couldn't stop looking at him. Not out of romance. Out of guilt. Out of confusion. Because part of me missed him already. And part of me couldn't believe I had done what I did. My husband came home that evening. Dropped his suitcase by the door, kissed my cheek, but didn't look into my eyes. He didn't notice the shift. Not right away. But 3 days later, as we sat on the couch, side by side but miles apart, he turned to me and said, "You've been quiet lately." I laughed. Too loud. Too forced. The kind of laugh that's supposed to erase suspicion. It didn't. He stared at me for a second longer than usual, then turned back to the TV. And I sat there, heart pounding, wondering if he felt it, the distance, the weight in the room, the absence of something unspoken. Kevin started spending more time outside. Long walks, errands that didn't need running. He came home later, spoke less. I tried to act normal. I tried to smile in the kitchen, ask about his day, keep things light. But the tension between us was thick. Like we were tiptoeing around glass we had already shattered. And then one night, as I was wiping down the counter, he came into the kitchen. His voice was low, his eyes tired. He said, "We crossed a line." I didn't say anything. He looked at me for the first time in days, really looked. And I saw it in his face. The guilt, the ache, the part of him that regretted it, and the part that didn't. "I don't know how to come back from this," he said. And I wanted to say, "Me neither." But the words stayed trapped in my throat. Everything had changed. We both knew it. But we didn't know what to do with the knowing. We were two people pretending to be strangers again, but carrying a secret that pulsed between us in every room we entered. I never wanted to hurt anyone. That was never the intention. I wasn't chasing danger. I wasn't looking to betray my husband. I just wanted to feel held, to feel like I mattered, like I wasn't fading into the background of my own life. But now, I carry silence like a second skin. It's there when I cook, when I fold laundry, when I brush my teeth and catch my own eyes in the mirror. A silence so loud it hums. Some nights I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything, his breath, his hands, the way he said my name like it wasn't something casual. And I wonder, was any of it real? Or was it just two people starving in their own separate ways, mistaking need for love? Did he really see me? Or just the version of me that was there in the moment, open, kind, available? And did I see him? Or did I just project my loneliness onto someone who simply knew how to look back? I ruined something. I know that. Not just the marriage. Not just the trust. But something sacred inside of me. Something I used to protect with everything I had. But in the same breath, I also awoke something. Something I didn't even know I had buried so deep. A part of me that still feels. That still wants. That still believes she could be chosen, not just tolerated. I started pulling away. From Kevin. From myself. I kept conversation short. Avoided being in the same room too long. Stopped wearing perfume. Stopped meeting his eyes. But it hurt. God, it hurt. To pretend we were nothing. To act like that night didn't happen. To pretend like it didn't change everything inside me. Every time I walked past his door, my body remembered. The warmth. The ache. The quiet knowing. And every time I heard my husband typing away in his home office, heard him yawn and say goodnight without looking at me, I felt the weight of what I'd done settle deeper into my bones. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't open that door. I wouldn't knock. I wouldn't lean in. But I also asked myself, why was it so easy to open? Why did it take so little to make me fall? Maybe that's the part that hurts the most. Not that I did it, but that it didn't even feel like a fight. That the moment came, and I stepped into it like I'd been waiting for it all along. I don't know what kind of person that makes me. I don't have the answers. I just know I'm not the same anymore. And maybe I never will be. Have you ever tried to help someone only to realize you were the one being saved? Not with grand gestures. Not with words. But with the way they saw you, really saw you, in the moments when you had long forgotten what it felt like to be visible. I thought I was giving him comfort. A listening ear. A safe place. But somewhere along the way, he became that for me. And I don't know what that says about me. About the woman I've become. About the woman I thought I was. So I'll ask you. Not as someone who has the answers, but as someone still searching for a way to live with the questions. Would you knock if you knew what was behind the door? Would you still walk in if you knew it would cost you parts of yourself you may never get back? Or would you walk away and always wonder what it might have felt like to be seen again? Tell me in the comments. Not because I need your approval, but because maybe, just maybe, you've been here too. Or close enough to feel the edge of it. And if the story stirred something in you, something you didn't expect, something you don't quite know how to name, subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. Because the next tale might echo a truth you've never dared to say aloud. Some doors open to comfort, others to chaos, but most open to mirrors. And I knocked. I stood there with the storm behind me, my breath caught in my chest, my heart split between who I was and who I wanted to be. And I knocked. And now, I can't unsee what was waiting on the other side. 3 of them. Not lovers, not strangers, but reflections. Reflections of everything I gave up trying to feel whole, trying to feel chosen, trying to feel alive. I live with that now. Not loudly, not with shame painted across my face, but quietly, like a song I hum under my breath when no one's around. Because some stories, they're not meant to be resolved, not tied up, not erased, just remembered. Remembered for the way they change us, for the pieces they take, for the truths they uncover, even when we're not ready to face them. And if you're still here, if you've listened this far, maybe this story wasn't just mine. Maybe it was yours too, in a different form, in a different time. But the ache? The ache always feels the same.